Welcome to Sun and Moon Yoga's YouTube channel. I am Annie Moyer, and this is the first in a short series of short practices that we're calling It's Not Rocket Science. We conceived of this series in honor of our astronauts lifting off into space for the first time in many years this week. We are recording this at the first week of June 2020. And of course, the irony in the title is it's absolutely rocket science that has enabled us as humans to, to do this sort of magnificent feat of going into space. What's also happening is that this launch of the space shuttle is concurrent with a series of events in our country right now that are really, really difficult. We are in the middle of a global coronavirus pandemic, and we are in the middle of some massive social unrest where protesters and activists are standing up against the structural racism and systems of oppression that have plagued this country for generations. And so, whether you are an astrophysicist or a frontline healthcare worker or a health scientist, whether you are an activist or a community organizer, or a simple yogi seeking your true self, we all have roles to play right now to further evolve humanity and to seek ways to reduce suffering on this earth. And for all of us, no matter what our roles are individually, each role really requires us to simply wake up each morning, set a resolve, and to take one step in the direction of that resolve. If we don't, we stay where we are, and suffering breeds upon itself over and over and over. The wonderful American writer James Baldwin said that not everything faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until we face it. And so the practice today is inspired by that notion of what is required for change and how do we mobilize our bodies, our hearts, our minds, our spirits, and each other to just take those one at a time small steps forward. And so, to paraphrase Neil Armstrong, we all the time have the opportunity to take one small step for humans, which could result in a giant leap forward for humankind. So that's the inspiration for today's practice. And we'll start on the back just to wake up the feet a little bit. And if you have a block handy, grab a block. If you don't have a block handy, it's okay, you don't need one. So come to your mat, lie down with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. Or if you have a block, put it between your ankle bones and hold it nice and firmly between your ankle bones. If you don't have a block, just set your feet firmly on the ground and feel the mat beneath them and pretend like they're hugging in toward something. Okay. And then just take a few breaths with your hands on your belly to feel the presence of life force moving through you. And notice your inhales and your exhales. And feel gravity holding you steady and safe on the ground. And Now, this exercise I learned from my friend, the wonderful yoga teacher Teresa Murphy. Look her up on Instagram or Facebook, Teresa Murphy. And it begins with squeezing the block or just squeezing into the midline and lifting your heels away from the floor. And with your heels lifted away from the floor, curl your toes under. So you're moving your toenails toward the floor in front of you. And then set your heels back down. They'll land a little further forward than they started. And then unfurl your toes, lift them up, lift the mounds of your feet up away from the floor, and then splay your feet out back on the ground. So we are taking one small step at a time with each foot. Now, again, lifting the heels as you're holding the block, if you have one, between your ankle bones. Curl your toes under until you feel maybe the toenails grab the floor, and then bring the heels back down a little further. Lift the toes, unfurl them, splay your feet out, land them back on the floor. You might feel a little cramping in your feet as you do this. That's okay. Breathe into it. And again, so we're sort of inchworming the feet forward, little bit by little bit, little bit by little bit. And you can do it faster if that feels useful or interesting. It doesn't have to be super slow like this, but super aware is good of what exactly is happening, which precise part of each foot is touching the ground. And your legs are now going to get a little straighter and a little straighter. And at a certain point, you will not be able to put your feet flat anymore. And so at that point, squeeze the block if you're using one and just straighten your legs out in front of you until they're on the ground. And you can flex your feet. Get a good hold of the block again if you're using it. And then stand the feet tall so the toes are pointing to the ceiling. Take a few breaths. Stream energy down through the inner legs all the way to the arches of the feet. And then allow an awareness of that same energy to respond back up the outer legs. And then try your awareness, reorganize the other way, down the outsides of the legs and then up the inner legs. And see which thought pattern of breath awareness makes you feel more grounded, more aligned with gravity, more safe and supported from underneath you to allow those steps forward to be effective. And whatever your small role is in evolving humankind forward to a kinder place with less suffering. So all these thoughts as we're lying here with active legs, active feet. And now, squeezing the block or squeezing in toward the midline, bend the knees and draw them in and pull them towards you. And then straighten your legs up to the ceiling. I'm using a cork block, which is a little heavy to do this, but that's okay. That's the level of challenge that's occurring right now. And then bend the knees and straighten the legs back out. Using the breath to coordinate on the exhale, drawing the knees in and straightening the legs up. And then drawing the knees in on the inhale, straighten the legs out. Do that 2-ish more times. Get really clear about how the feet feel beneath your legs and how equipped you feel like they are to help you take these forward steps. And last one, exhaling all the way out as the legs straighten to the sky. And inhaling all the way in as the legs straighten out on the ground. And now you can release the block and just pull one knee in and hold somewhere on the leg, doesn't matter where. Straighten that leg up toward the ceiling. Keep the bottom foot perky, active, toes still seeking the sky. And with this top foot, begin to circle around in the ankle. Circle the other way. Breathe. And now lift the outer edge of your foot up toward the ceiling so the arch is coming down towards you. This movement is called supinating the foot. And now pronate, which is the opposite. The arch moves away from you and the outer edge of the foot pulls towards you. Do that a few times. And then with the foot level to the ceiling, ankle flexed, turn the foot in and out. And you'll notice that you can't get much movement until you turn the leg in and out. And you might feel your thigh rotating in and out in your hip joint. All right. And then just soften the foot, shake it out a little bit, pull the knee in towards you, take the knee out to the side, pull the shin towards you, and then release that leg back onto the ground and do the other side. So pull the knee in, straighten the leg up toward the ceiling, and it does not have to go all the way straight. Some hamstrings will prefer or demand that you keep the knee bent a little bit. That's absolutely correct. Right, so circling around in the ankle joint. I'm keeping my bottom leg and foot active. Circle a few times in the other direction. It's funny when you notice that you intended to move the operative foot and then the other one wants to join the party. And there's, again, nothing wrong with that. It's good to notice these things. And then supinate and pronate. The movement is subtle, but alive and well in your ankle joint and in the muscles of the foot. Okay. And then turn the foot in and out and notice the leg turning in and out along with it. And then on your next exhale, relax the foot, shake it out, bend the knee and pull it in toward you. And then take the knee out to the side and pull the ankle or the shin in towards you, rotating the hip externally as far as it will. And then release and straighten the leg out in front. Pause for a breath. And then gather up both knees, pull them in, and you can find your way up to all the way up to stand. So I'm going to get some rocking motion going here. Rocking on the spine. If this isn't safe for the bones of your spine, you can roll to your side and move through table pose to come up to stand, or get enough momentum to plant the feet down and stand all the way up. And I'm just going to adjust this a little bit higher, a little bit straighter. All right. So coming up to stand, palms together at your heart. And then just a few sweeping breaths in as you reach up and out as you fold forward. And then in as you come halfway up and out as you fold down. And in all the way up and hands together at the heart. Okay, so now get all of the weight really firmly planted into one leg, firmly planted down all the way through the sole of the foot. So that steadiness is going to serve as part of the support that allows the other foot to be free for movement, for stepping forward or stepping backward. So with all of the weight planted into the through the leg into the one foot, lift the other knee, and then you can hold on to it as you lift your opposite arm. And then do that on the other side. So it's just opposite leg and arm lifting and dropping. So almost like we're marching in place. And the next time you bring one knee up, keep the arm up, and see if you can come up a little bit off of the heel. So just a little pop up onto the toes and down. Oops. And it takes practice. So other side. Lift up onto the toes and back down. Do that a few times on each side. Waking up the feet, waking up a sense of steady balance. All right. Next time you have an opposite knee and arm lifted, keep them lifted. And then take the leg that's lifted, step it back one step, one modest step backwards. Plant the heel down and pick up the toes on the front foot. So the lifted arm stays lifted the whole time. And now we're going to sweep forward back onto the front foot, and this knee lifts again, and we'll come up into that balance posture. And then step down. Other side. Lift opposite knee and arm. Step the foot back. Land the heel and pedal backwards with the front foot. And then come forward, up onto the balls of the toes and step down. So keep going a few times. Lifting opposite knee and arm. Step the foot back. Pedal backwards onto the back heel and off the front toes. And then step forward, come up onto the little tippy toe balance just for a moment and stand down. So when you come into that tippy toe balance, you can play with how long you are able or how long you choose to stay upright. And that might be an interesting inquiry. One more time. This time we're going to add. So same beginning, opposite arm and knee lift, step back, and then step back again. Because sometimes life's like that. It feels like we get one step forward, but two steps back. So see how that feels to take the two steps back and then orient your awareness forward. And remember that the forward step is always within reach. There are lots of places here where you can train your awareness. You can train it on the very specific parts of the feet that you feel making contact with the floor and then letting go of that contact. You can pay attention to the training of balance and how your gaze fits in with that challenge. All right, so this will be the last one. And then you can make up your own sequence. So it's not rocket science to figure out where we can train up the skills that we're seeking to allow us to take steps forward, to evolve ourselves and each other. All right, hands together at the heart. So next we're going to do something that I'm calling a small step sun salute. So take your feet a little bit wider than your hips, like wide railroad tracks. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come part way up, bend your knees, lift the heart. Exhale, fold down. And now take a very modest stride backwards, not that much more than what you were doing before with that balancing exercise. So just a small step back, land the heel on the ground, bend the front knee, reach up. So a small warrior pose. And then come back down, hands to the floor or blocks. I'll show you with blocks. Step the other foot back. Bend your knees a lot and arch the spine like a hammock shape with the mid-spine dropping, the sitting bones rising up behind you, and the heart turning up in front of you. And now turn this into a close stride dog pose with your hands on the floor or blocks, reaching the hips back. Take a breath. And then whichever foot stepped back first, step that one forward. So we get the small warrior on the second side. And then simply hands to the heart, step back to center. And then widen the feet again, the wide railroad tracks. We'll repeat with a foot backward slightly larger, but not the full stride. So inhale, second round. Exhale, fold down. Lift up part way so the feet are a little wider than your hips. Exhale, fold down. And then with hands on blocks or not, you can use your own legs as a stabilizing force. Step one foot back, a little bit wider than it was before. Rise up, bend the front knee, reach your arms. And then exhale, reach down, hands on something. Step the other foot back, bend the knees, put a hammock arch in the spine. And then exhale, lengthen the spine backwards, drop the chest, drop the head. Take an extra breath. And whichever foot you stepped back that time, step that one forward. Keep the feet wide like railroad tracks. Bend the front knee. Reach up. And then hands to the heart. Step forward. And this time you can repeat one of those versions of the small step sun salute, or you can come into a normal, quote unquote, version of the sun salute. Inhaling part way up, lift the heart, climb the shoulder blades up onto the back, and exhale, fold back down. And then step one foot back and the other foot back to plank. And hold the plank and breathe the breath. And then bring the knees down and the thighs and the belly and the chest. And then inhale, lift up into a back bend cobra pose or upward facing dog. Tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. And breathe. And then look between your hands and make a plan to step one foot forward. Execute that plan one small step at a time. And then other footsteps forward. Inhale, reach all the way up tall. Look up between your hands and then bring your hands back to center. Now, one big step back and set up for a triangle pose. Take the arms out wide. Lean off to the side over the front leg and then tip over and breathe. You might recall the feeling of the supination or the pronation of your feet when you were lying on your back with your foot in the air. How can you recreate that here in the standing pose to make steady ground beneath you so that the steps that you do take are safe? And then rooting into the feet, rise up tall, release your arms, big step forward. And now do the other side. I'm going to turn around so you can see better. Other foot steps back, big wide stride, arms out to the sides. Shift over the front leg and then tip down into triangle. And breathe. And feel the life in your feet. And feel the breath that continues to feed and nourish that life. As you're ready, rising up, release the arms, big step to the front of your mat. And then step a foot back again, setting up for warrior two. Wide stride. Turn your heart to face the long side of your mat. Keep the hips where they naturally landed when you took your step. And then bend the front knee and take your arms out wide. Cast your gaze out toward the direction that your knee is facing. Allow a softness in your jaw, in your neck, in your heart, and your belly. And soften the arms, release them down. Big step forward. Other side. Big step back. Bend the knee. Turn the heart to face the long side of the mat. Cast your gaze sideways. And inhale. And exhale. And after the next exhale, soft arms, float them down and step forward. Last standing pose, side angle pose, big step back. Bend the front knee, lean over, resting your elbow on the thigh, and always find if you have a block handy to grab the block, rest your hand on the block or the floor, and then trace up the side of your body with your fingers and extend your arm over the side of your head so it matches the sideline of your torso and your back leg. And feel the life that is streaming into your feet that allows you to take steps forward toward worthy goals of evolving humankind and reducing suffering in the world. Whatever our small contribution to that is, may we take those steps with clarity and ease and support. Come on up. And then big step forward. This time stepping forward, try to lift the heel that's behind you and pivot on the toes. And then press off the back foot. Get lots of leverage to ease the step. And then second side. Big step back. Bend the front knee. Lean down with your hand on the block or elbow on your thigh, possibly hand on the floor. And extend your arm as you trace up the sideline of the torso and join that line with your arm. Your heart is turning up, seeking space, seeking light. And your breath is moving through you with ease and clarity, all the way down to feed the feet that take you forward. And then soften the arm, rise up. Try that pivot of the back foot to take your step forward. So lift off the heel and turn the toes so they're facing the front of the mat. Get some strong leverage off the back foot to take the step up. And then stand with palms together at the heart Take a few breaths. And on your next exhale, melt the torso down. Nice, easy fold. Separate the feet a little bit wider than your hips. Grab your elbows and swing from side to side. And then just let the arms fall. Let the neck and jaw release. And come down to any comfortable seat. And if you'd like to lie down for a few minutes, go ahead and do that. I will wish you peace and good health and safe steps forward toward the evolution of humankind where we seek to ease each other's and our own suffering. Thank you so much. Namaste.